Long before written alphabets, before paper, before recorded speech, human beings communicated through images. These images were not casual drawings. They were deliberate, carefully repeated forms, symbols that carried meaning across generations. In a world without modern language, symbols became vessels of memory, belief, identity, and understanding. Many ancient symbols disappeared along with the civilizations that created them. Others, however, endured. They were carved into stone, preserved in sacred spaces, and passed down through centuries of cultural transmission. These symbols crossed borders, survived political collapse, and remained relevant even as languages evolved and societies transformed. This exploration focuses on 5 such symbols, each grounded in real historical contexts, used by real civilizations, and preserved through time not by coincidence, but by meaning. The first symbol, the Ouroboros. The Ouroboros is one of the oldest symbolic images known in human history. It depicts a serpent or snake forming a complete circle by consuming its own tail. Archaeological evidence places its earliest known appearance in ancient Egypt, where it was recorded in funerary texts associated with the royal afterlife. One of its most famous early depictions appears in texts found in the burial chamber of Pharaoh Tutankhamun, dating back more than 3,000 years. In Egyptian cosmology, the Ouroboros was not a symbol of destruction or self-annihilation. Instead, it represented completeness and continuity. The circular form conveyed the idea that existence had no absolute beginning or end. Life flowed into death, death into renewal, and renewal back into life. This concept aligned closely with Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife, where death was seen as a transition rather than an ending. As centuries passed, the symbol migrated beyond Egypt. In ancient Greece, philosophers adopted the Ouroboros to express ideas about unity and the nature of the cosmos. It became associated with the concept that all things originate from the same source and ultimately return to it. Later, in early alchemical traditions, the Ouroboros appeared in manuscripts as a visual representation of transformation, matter endlessly refining itself through cycles of change. What is remarkable about the Ouroboros is not just its age, but its consistency. Across cultures and time periods, the core image remained intact. While interpretations varied, the central theme of continuity persisted. The symbol survived because it addressed a universal human observation, that nature operates in cycles, and that endings are often beginnings in disguise. The second symbol, the hexagram. The hexagram, formed by 2 interlocking triangles, is a geometric symbol that appears across multiple ancient civilizations. Long before it became associated with any single religious identity, the hexagram was used in decorative art, architecture, and sacred contexts across Asia, the Middle East, and the Mediterranean world. Archaeological findings show hexagram motifs in ancient Indian temples, Mesopotamian seals, and early Mediterranean structures. Its symmetrical form made it visually striking and mathematically stable, qualities that appealed to early builders and philosophers alike. In many ancient traditions, the hexagram was understood as a symbol of balance. The upward-pointing triangle was often associated with the heavens, fire, or the spiritual realm, while the downward-pointing triangle represented earth, water, or the material world. When combined, the 2 triangles conveyed the idea of harmony between opposing forces. This symbolic balance was not abstract. Ancient societies viewed harmony as essential to survival. Between nature and humanity, rulers and subjects, the physical and the unseen. The hexagram visually expressed this equilibrium in a single, elegant form. Over time, the hexagram took on deeper cultural significance within Judaism, becoming an emblem of identity and spiritual meaning. Yet its broader historical presence remained evident in its continued use across other traditions and cultures. The symbol's endurance lies in its adaptability. It was never confined to one interpretation, yet its fundamental structure remained unchanged. The third symbol, the ankh. The ankh is inseparable from ancient Egypt. Shaped like a cross with a loop at the top, it appears consistently in Egyptian art, religious carvings, and sacred objects dating back more than 4 millennia. Unlike many symbols whose meanings must be inferred through interpretation, the Ankh's significance was clearly recorded. It represented life, both physical existence and eternal life beyond death. Egyptian deities are frequently depicted holding the Ankh, extending it toward pharaohs as a sign of divine favor and authority. The Ankh was not merely symbolic, it was functional within Egyptian belief systems. It appeared in burial rites, temple rituals, and royal iconography. Life, to the Egyptians, was not confined to the earthly realm. The Ankh embodied the continuity of existence, bridging the mortal and the divine. As Egyptian civilization declined, the symbol did not vanish. Instead, it continued to appear in later cultural contexts, often associated with spiritual vitality, protection, and continuity. Its visual simplicity contributed to its survival. Even without knowledge of its original context, the Ankh's form communicates balance and connection. What sustained the Ankh through time was the universality of its message. Every civilization confronts the question of life and what follows it. The Ankh endured because it addressed that question with clarity and reverence. The fourth symbol, the eye within the triangle. The image of an eye has been a powerful symbol since antiquity. In ancient Egypt, the eye of Horus symbolized protection, healing, and divine awareness. It was believed to guard against harm and restore balance. Amulets bearing the eye were worn for safety, and the symbol appeared frequently in funerary contexts. The triangular framing of the eye emerged much later, particularly in European religious art during the Renaissance. The triangle itself carried symbolic meaning, often representing completeness, unity, or divine order. When the eye was placed within the triangle, the combined image conveyed watchfulness guided by higher authority. Historically, this symbol was associated with providence rather than surveillance. It expressed the idea that existence is observed and guided, not randomly unfolding without purpose. The eye did not represent control in a political sense, but awareness in a spiritual one. The persistence of the eye symbol across cultures speaks to humanity's enduring fascination with perception and consciousness. From ancient civilizations to later theological interpretations, the eye remained a metaphor for insight, both seen and unseen. Its continued appearance in art and symbolism reflects a deep-rooted human intuition, that awareness extends beyond the physical, and that observation itself carries meaning. The fifth symbol, the sun. The sun is arguably the oldest symbol known to humanity. Long before formal civilizations emerged, early humans oriented their lives around the sun's movement. Archaeological sites across continents reveal solar alignments, stone circles, and monuments designed to track seasonal cycles. In ancient Egypt, the sun god Ra represented creation and order. In the Americas, civilizations such as the Aztecs and Incas built entire cosmologies around solar worship. Agricultural societies depended on the sun for survival, making it both a practical and spiritual focal point. The sun symbolized life, growth, time, and renewal. It governed calendars, rituals, and social organization. Unlike abstract symbols, the sun's influence was directly observable. Crops grew under its light, seasons changed with its movement, and life itself depended on its presence. Because of this direct relationship, the sun never lost its symbolic relevance. Even as scientific understanding expanded, the sun remained a central figure in cultural and spiritual expression. Its image appears consistently in art, flags, religious iconography, and philosophical thought. The sun's endurance as a symbol is rooted in necessity. As long as humanity exists, the sun's importance remains unquestioned. Throughout history, these symbols persisted not because they were enforced, but because they resonated. They addressed fundamental aspects of human existence: time, balance, life, awareness, and survival. Civilizations changed, but these concepts did not. Symbols are not frozen in time. They evolve, absorb new layers of meaning, and adapt to new cultural contexts. Yet their survival depends on something deeper than adaptation. It depends on relevance. These ancient symbols endured because they expressed truths that remained meaningful across generations. They became bridges between past and present, reminding humanity of shared questions that transcend era and culture. Their continued presence is not accidental. It is historical continuity. These symbols have endured not because they demanded belief, but because they carried meaning. Long before borders, before modern religions, before written history, human beings sought to understand life, time, balance, and the unseen, and they expressed those questions through symbols. What survives across thousands of years is rarely accidental. These images endured because they reflected shared human experiences: birth and death, order and chaos, awareness and continuity. Civilizations changed, languages disappeared, yet these symbols remained, silent witnesses to humanity's long search for understanding. To study them is not merely to look backward, but to recognize how deeply the past continues to shape the present. These symbols remind us that history is not distant. It is still with us, etched into the signs we recognize, the meanings we inherit, and the questions we continue to ask. If you appreciate historically grounded explorations of ancient mysteries, presented with depth, respect, and careful research, consider subscribing to Dew of Dread. Here, we uncover humanity's oldest symbols, forgotten histories, and enduring questions, allowing the past to speak for itself.